Good morning and good day, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the UN Solutions Summit. Day 2 is focused on empowerment and inclusion, and it's brought to you by the Susans. I'm Susan Myers. I'm proud to represent the UN Foundation. My colleague Susan Alzner and I will be walking us through today's program. We're both also proud to have been with the Solutions Summit since the beginning. This is the 5th UN Solutions Summit. The first one occurred within hours of the Sustainable Development Goals being adopted by world leaders here at the UN in 2015. And the Solutions Summit is a wonderful collaboration between the UN. We work with the Secretary General's office through an initiative called Local 2030. The UN Foundation is also, of course, involved. Shift 7 is a partner. Susan now represents Shift 7, and she'll get a chance to tell you a bit about what it is. She and Megan Smith co-founded Shift 7, and the Global Innovation Exchange is our other partner, and we've been really proud to see the Solutions Summit grow and continue to develop over its 5 years. I think one of the things that makes the Solutions Summit special and unique is that it is embedded here at the UN. Local 2030 joined us as our partner last year with the idea that the Solutions Summit could be a good model for driving progress at the local level. And we know more and more that progress at the local level is not only a key but critical ingredient of achieving the SDGs. And Susan, over to you. Tell me what I've missed.
No, I mean, we have the best partnership, love working with UN Foundation. I used to be at the UN. I worked here for 8 years, even part of the SDG negotiations. I've moved on to co-found Shift 7 together with Megan Smith, who was at Google before, and the 3rd Chief Technology Officer of the United States from 2014 to 17. And now we're focused on realizing inclusive, tech-forward innovation for faster impact on sustainable development. And the SDGs are our guide, and Solutions Summit is our really most favorite initiative to spend our time on. So thrilled to be here. We also have a number of fantastic partners, acceleration partners and sponsors that we want to tell you about who've joined into this whole initiative. Many of you are here today. Our sponsors, thank you so much for enabling this. We have H&M Foundation, who's in the house today. Woo! We'll hear more from them later, but they have a fantastic focus on innovation in the fashion industry. Super amazing people. We have Google for Startups, who is also here somewhere, and Barclays and Ericsson, who we'll also hear from today. So this is a really exciting family, and we'd love to tell you more about the acceleration partners. We have a big list of them. You can't even imagine how many there are, a ton of them. So we read them out yesterday, but this is an absolutely amazing community that has come together to support the innovators. Just quickly, what they do is they team up with each one of our innovators for 90-minute acceleration sessions that help them with their advice for their pitch, their business model, marketing, partnerships. It's really a way to accelerate these folks, and then for lasting impact as well. And so the teamwork has been beautiful on all of this, and we thank you all so much for joining in the support of the innovators.
Yeah, and this is a list that's grown every year, but there's plenty of room for more involvement. So if you're an organization that has any expertise that you know innovators around the world might benefit from, the door is open, and we welcome you joining us. Today, we're going to hear from 4 amazing solutions, 4 of our 10 solution makers represented by this year's Solution Summit, and I'm really pleased to introduce solution number 1. Gita Anani, she works for Abad, Jina Al-Dar, and she works out of Lebanon. Gita is the founder and director of Abad, the Resource Center for Gender Equality. She's a passionate activist for women and vulnerable populations in Lebanon, and the World Bank has named her one of the 10 most inspiring women entrepreneurs in her region. So Gita, we really look forward to hearing from you.
Marhaba. If it weren't for your visit to my village, I would have been married next week. This is Sarah, and I'm 14 years old. Sarah is one out of more than 20,000 women and girls who are living on the Lebanese territory in the most marginalized areas and who have benefited from the services of the Jina Al-Dar mobile bus. Jina Al-Dar is an innovation, a solution that we created to reach the unreachable women and girls who are refugees and in displacement that are residing on the Lebanese territory, fleeing war, living and suffering from the worst form of exploitation, rape, trafficking, sexual commercial exploitation, early and child marriage, and spousal violence. So these women, we decided to go to them in this mobile bus that is called Jina Al-Dar, which stands as well, We've Come Home, because they live in a very restricted, they have restricted mobility due to the security situation and the political situation and legal documentation that they have as refugees. So we decided simply to go to them with a multidisciplinary team and support them in their community. So Jina Al-Dar not only provides holistic care, life-saving services to these women, like clinical management of rape, on-spot psychosocial support, first aid, mental health care, and legal services, but also it provides preventive interventions, awareness sessions on legal, sexual reproductive health and rights, and health care in their own community through different techniques. Today, the cost of gender-based violence is almost $2.5 million in Lebanon for holistic care. So we came up with a solution that actually costs $2.5 per person. The bus, it has a kind of inclusive systemic approach because it doesn't target only women and girls, but also men and boys, people with special needs, local authorities, stakeholders, faith-based groups, and all members of the community. To upscale and enhance and have more sustainable impact, we also used ICT technology as a medium to link up survivors and cases with service providers across the country and restore more and more a sense of trust and confidence and safety to speak up and disclose and come forward to talk about gender-based violence. It's important to mention that the bus doesn't only provide this holistic care approach, but also it contributes indirectly as well to community social cohesion and stability and peace-building messaging. So the women's sense of agency and empowerment is a key priority for us. Hence, we were ready to do anything to really ensure that they're actively and effectively participating in their communities and use any and all medium possible. Today, we aspire to go cross-border and to replicate the model as a kind of living example of communal solidarity. At the same time, this is something that we really aspire and require funding to ensure that we're serving more population, networking to mobilize all support around the model, and also technology that can help us make the voice of these women and girls even louder and more heard, and use the power of data in all advocacy efforts in the country. I was dead, hopeless, had forgotten the sound of a good laugh. You brought me back to life. This was another woman, Layla, 47 years old, who benefited from the services, and she is one of too many women that are still waiting for the support. So really, we want you today to connect with us and join the cause and ensure more accountability toward women and girls that are struggling with gender-based violence. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Gita is an extraordinary leader, has done so much for her country on the topic of women's empowerment, gender equality, especially even getting a law changed. If you want to say something briefly about that before we bring our accelerators up. I know it's really important what you've done.
Yeah, because for us it was a kind of taking out one of the most shameful legislation in the Lebanese code, which is allowing the rapist to escape punishment in case they marry their victim. So we led a campaign called Undress 522, which is the article that led actually to abolishing this article from the Lebanese law in less than a year. And neighboring countries also followed the struggle, especially Tunisia. And Palestine currently is working on it. So it was one breakthrough for us to make, like, really restore the belief that change can happen. It's simply about strategizing and the persistence and the passion.
Amazing,
So thank
everyone.
you.
I'm pleased to welcome a group of our acceleration partners on stage. Please join us. And we're going to just have a quick dialogue with Gita to elaborate on a few aspects of her presentation. But I also wanted to say that these dialogues are a snapshot of much longer discussions we had with acceleration partners and each of our innovators over the weekend. That's one of the things we do when we bring them here to New York, is give them the opportunity to benefit from some of the organizations who are here, who have networks and expertise that will hopefully help them grow their work. So I think each of you is prepared to comment on a specific aspect, and we're going to pass the mic. Hen, would you like to go first? Since you're and introduce, say your name and the organization you represent, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Hind Al-Hinawi. I'm the CEO of Humanitarian Tracker. We connect and empower citizens using innovation and technology.
Yeah.
Rita, what I love about Abad is the sense of trust and community that being on a bus for 3 days builds.
Yeah.
So imagine if all of us were on a bus for 3 days traveling through. Imagine that trust and that safe space that you're creating for women to really express and have solidarity. And you kind of run it like a agile, lean startup. You're not in one place,
yes.
And so it's easier for you to move to other villages and neighboring towns to take your program forward. Now, I'd like to offer you our ICT tools that we have at Humanitarian Tracker to connect you with other organizations. Is there something specific that you are looking for?
Well, basically, it's important to flag this point because for us, it was one of the challenge that it was also challenging ourselves, like how you build community, sense of community and trust while you're moving, and the people you're serving are actually in this transformative, constant reality. So for us, the technology and the kind of ICT can help sustain the kind of messaging and the work and the service we're doing, at the same time document the violations in sense of make it more visible. We go to the people, but we want to make what they are struggling with more visible and heard backward. So ICT per se can help ensure that the memory is not lost, accountability is there, documentation is there, and create a kind of movement of women advocates for their own issue, and this is all what we want, to be very honest. So thank you so much for allowing this possibility to even upscale it and to happen. So thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm Diana Amini. I represent the H&M Foundation. And I think it's such a good way to reach the marginalized women by this bus. But also, I know that you also link them to other services. But how do you kind of follow up on the beneficiaries?
So the Jina Al-Dar is one pillar, one service out of many services that we provide as a structure. So this is the structure that actually goes around and let the people know about the services, the specialized services. And then they are linked to other structures that Abad manage across the country. We have 13 women and girls safe spaces that provide holistic care, like it's a kind of one-stop shop center model that provide GBV holistic services. So we ensure to link them to the closest center that Abad manage, or other partners like the Ministry of Social Affairs centers, the Ministry of Public Health centers. So we make them know that in 15 minutes walking distance, this is one key criteria for us, you can get a sustainable follow-up if you want more than one shot support. And also we try to do this with non-judgmental approach, like the interactive art technique is key. So we made them feel comfortable that, yes, you opened up, but at the same time, you can, in a very interactive way, but you can go for more one-on-one individual support through these centers or even the shelters that we manage. We have 3 emergency shelters. She is in danger. She can actually go there with her kids and reflect about her life in a very safe, confidential space. So we try as much as possible, depend on the high risk of the situation, to link up to these structures. Thank you.
Thank you, Solutions Exchange, for this lovely opportunity to interact with such entrepreneurs. My name is Kailash, and I've got a very difficult task ahead of me. I manage an investment fund in an activist organization called Oxfam. But Geeta, your innovation is amazing, and it's my privilege to help you scale it up from Lebanon to 70-odd countries that we work in. But we focus on policy and advocacy. So I would be really keen to understand how your initiatives can help the policy and advocacy space.
So thank you so much for this question. Actually, because we define ourselves as advocates for women's rights, as feminists. Advocacy for us is the top priority. And honestly, the philosophy of coming up and creating this innovative solution was the accountability to the people we serve. So for us, advocating for fair policies and legislations is the pulse, it's the key, and we mobilize everything around it. So the gathered data that we get from the community, linking it up to our advocacy unit, it can help us to really know what these women want and what will make a difference in their own life. So this is mobilized around the policy work, like the campaign that I mentioned. We knew from the community that incest rape is happening, that sexual violence is happening, that marriage is presented as a solution. And this is from where we identify our advocacy priorities. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Geeta. And just for everyone watching online on UN Web TV or other sources, join the conversation, send your questions or ideas at SDG Solutions on Twitter. And thank you all so much for everything that you've offered in terms of offerings and advice.
And thank you for this space. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And Jina, we're going to keep you on stage for a few more minutes. As we heard from Susan at the opening of the program, in addition to serving as a partner, the H&M Foundation has also provided us with some critical financial resources that most importantly allow us to bring these 10 amazing innovators to New York to benefit not only from participating in the Solutions Summit, but from this incredible platform built around the UN General Assembly High-Level Week to engage with world leaders and other leaders who descend upon New York this week. But you got this program from the beginning, and you really have been a holistic partner, and we very much appreciate that. I just want to ask you a bit more about gender equality. It's obviously a focus of Geeta's work, and we know it's also been a focus of the H&M Foundation's work. Where does gender fit into this push that we need to make around the SDGs if we are to achieve them by 2030?
I mean, we already have a challenge in reaching the SDGs as it is, but if we exclude the female population, it's going to be impossible because it's so much untapped potential in so many areas. And it's also a main focus for us as a nonprofit foundation. And we have worked with CARE in a lot of countries in the global south to support women to start their own enterprises, supporting them with seed capital and skills training, and so far reached about 140,000 women. And we know it's not just the right thing to do. It's also the most effective way to drive people out of poverty because women invest in their communities, in their children. But I also think a challenge that we have is to challenge the stereotypes, especially about who can become an entrepreneur or a CEO. And I think we need role models like Geeta to really see that this is happening.
Great, thank you. And I want to talk a bit more about the industry that you represent. I mean, one of the things that we've learned from our partnership is that there's a lot of change happening in the industry, but there's also, I think, a lot of room for more change and more change that needs to happen to make a wholesome contribution to sustainable development. You support a program that helps elevate the work of entrepreneurs that are part of your own value chain. Talk a bit more about the role of innovation and innovators in transforming your industry.
So it's really an industry initiative. And I mean, the fashion industry is a resource-intensive industry in need of a shift to a more circular and sustainable industry. We need new materials, new processes, new business models. And that's why we, as a nonprofit foundation, initiated a program called Global Change Award 4 years ago, where we are looking for early stage ideas that we can support. And we have received over 14,000 entries from 182 countries during the first 4 years, which is amazing. And the winners, we support them with a grant and an accelerator program for 1 year, together with the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm and Accenture. So we really want them to scale. We don't take any equity in the ideas, so it's really for the whole industry. And it's open for applications now until mid-October. So if we have any great entrepreneurs working in the fashion sector, just let us know.
Well, thank you so much. And I just wanted to mention one other aspect of our program that your partnership helped us achieve earlier this summer. We brought the Solution Summit to Nairobi, Kenya, which I know is a region that's also important to the H&M Foundation. It's something we hope to do more of in the future, in line with the goal of the SG and the DSG, that we have much more activity at the local and regional level on the SDGs. And to the extent the Solution Summit can be a good tool in the toolbox for achieving that. So thank you. Looking forward to continuing to work with you.
Okay, everyone, we have an extraordinary social innovator, inclusion activist up next. Please welcome Carlos Pereira, who is the CEO and founder of Livox, software which helps empower people living with disabilities. Thank you. Welcome, Carlos.
Good morning. I would like to start by asking a question to you guys. Do you believe in love at first sight? Well, I do. This is a photo of my daughter when she was born, and due to a medical mistake during my wife's labor, she has cerebral palsy. So she can't walk and she can't speak. And there are at least 300 million people like my daughter Clara. This is like the whole population of the United States. These are people with stroke, autism, ALS, many diseases and disabilities that prevent them from speaking. And since from the moment that I found out about my daughter's situation, empowering people with disabilities became a passion for me. And out of this passion, I created Livox. Livox is a solution for Android tablets that enables people with disabilities to communicate and to learn. And there are many alternative communication devices out there. But what makes Livox unique is 3 things. The first one, let me go this way. The first one is award-winning algorithms. The second one is machine learning and natural language processing. And the third one is reports and feedback. Let me tell you first about our award-winning algorithms. Have you ever seen the hands of a person with a motor disability? They are more or less like this. They don't touch on a touch screen device like we do. They touch with their whole hands, they drag their fingers, they do involuntary touches. And in order to solve that, we created an algorithm called Livox IntelliTouch that as soon as a person with disability touches the screen, it analyzes its touch and it corrects the imperfect touch of people with disabilities. But let's talk a little bit about machine learning and natural language processing. This is a regular alternative communication device available here in the United States. And it's quite overwhelming. There are dozens of items on a single screen. It's really complicated to find what you want to say. Even for us, we don't have any disabilities, but it's really hard to use this. And how is Livox different? Well, we use machine learning, natural language processing for that. I can just talk to my daughter, and I can say something like, Clara, how many spoons of sugar you want in your coffee? Livox listens to this, and we use natural language processing to understand that the answer is a number, so she can say, I would like 3 spoons of sugar, or maybe a little bit more. Maybe she's at school, and her teacher can ask, Clara, is this book about a dog, a cat, or a rabbit? Livox understands that, and then it shows the options so she can communicate. There is no need to memorize these questions. We also provide report and dashboards for governments and institutions so they can track the improvements of users over time. And we analyze every user of Livox in 5 different categories. And we are present now in 11 countries. The software is available in 25 languages. I wanted to show this photo to you guys. There are much more photos, but they said me to put fewer photos. So I wanted to show this because we are deploying technology, high technology, even in developing countries like Djibouti, for example. Yes, it's possible. So every person with disability can have their own voice. These are some of our partners, like MIT Solve, Google.org, WEF, and we are working towards 3 of the SDGs: good health, quality in education, and reduce inequalities. And our ask to you guys here, and you guys that are watching me, is partnerships with governments and institutions to distribute Livox to those who need it, funding for research, because we open source our breakthroughs in machine learning, natural language processing, and so every person with a disability can have their own voice. I guess that you guys are curious to see how is Clara today. This is a very recent photo of Clara. She's 12 years old now, and she's a brilliant little girl. And through Livox, we could see how smart she is, and she's doing really great. This is my contact info, guys. Get in touch so every person with disability can have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. We know addressing the needs of people with disabilities is a critical aspect of the SDGs, and thank you for everything you're doing. And we could welcome our acceleration partners on stage. You should go down closer to them. Same. Introduce yourselves and your organization, and before you ask your question.
Great. Hi, my name is Nina Sharma. I'm the managing director at Project Excite, which is the innovation and entrepreneurship program at the University of Denver. With my university hat on, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for universities to help you develop more tech or help you scale this product. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're already doing with universities and how we can tap into university networks here in the US to help move you along.
Okay, we have partnerships with a few universities already. There is one university in my home state in Brazil, Pernambuco, the Universidade Federal of Pernambuco, and we are also partners with WPI, the Worcester Polytechnic Institute, and now we are working with these students, and their code is amazing. And as a small startup, this helps us a lot to keep our costs low, and at the same time have amazing coders working with us.
Hi, my name is Steph Hannon. I'm a product leader from places like Google, Facebook, and Strava. Carlos, I admire so much what you're doing, and we got to spend a bunch of time together on Sunday, and one thing I think is special is how grounded it is in research, how much your team has spent time working in facilities and clinics serving people with disabilities, and that you actually told me by design, everyone spends half a day a week volunteering and just getting to know the people they're trying to serve, and that's powerful. So my question to you is, it's really important to know if it's working or not. How do you think about metrics to tell you how your solution is going?
Absolutely. We are being used by many governments, and we provide tools so they can see if the users are really using Livox in many different metrics. We analyze every user of Livox in 5 different categories, and because, the metrics for people with disabilities are different than the regular metrics for regular kids, for example. So we worked with therapists and professionals to work on these metrics to make sure that the users are being evaluated. And then, if you are a mayor or maybe a director of a school or something like that, or institution, you can see the actual improvement of users over time by using Livox.
Hi, my name is Matabani from Startup Bootcamp, based in Cape Town, South Africa, and we're a Pan-African Accelerator Program. Carlos, what you're doing is fantastic, and I really want to know more about what partnerships you need to make it grow exponentially, because you're literally putting, tech into a healthcare setting, and you're making it much more affordable and accessible for people who cannot have tech. So we need more of what you're doing. So what partnerships are needed for you to achieve this?
Yeah, we need partnerships with governments and institutions that distribute solutions for people with disabilities or learning impairments, but also with funders philanthropists who want to help us. Let me tell you this. I guess you guys, all of us know here, the late Stephen Hawking, and he was a brilliant mind, and he was disabled, and he could show how brilliant he was through a device similar to Livox. How many Stephen Hawkings we have out there that are still lost? And this week here, everyone is talking about Greta Thunberg. And have you ever thought if we could have people with disabilities having their own voice so they could advocate for things like climate change, about financing, sanitation, and etc., but they can't now because they don't even have a voice. And we need to work towards helping them so they can have their own voice, so they can advocate for themselves and for the things that matter.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I had to keep wiping my eye because I get really emotional when I hear about work like this. I'm sure you can all relate something that you were really passionate about individually that you wanted to pursue, and I just think it's so courageous and extraordinary when you see someone who builds from a situation in his family to then expand to be able to help people all around the world. It's really extraordinary. Let's hear it for Carlos one more time. So you might be wondering how we found him and everyone else that's gracing the stage here at the UN for UN Solutions Summit. We did an open call for applications. It's really fantastic that the UN supports this now. It's a regular practice. We ask people all around the world, what solutions do you have to the SDGs? Any one or more SDGs. SDGs are interconnected, so many of our solution makers are solving for many more than one, as you can see. We received over 1,400 applications within 3 weeks from 141 countries. So it's really extraordinary what's happening out in the world, and we need to bring even more people forward, and we want to help even more people. The review and selection process was done together with 2 selection committees, independent peer review committees. People applied for those roles as well. We had a youth selection committee, age 30 and under, and another selection committee, age 31 and up, and divided the applications accordingly. And many of you are here today as well, so thank you so much for joining into this big effort and lending your skills and time. At this point, we've supported more than 60 innovators over the last 5 years, and now we're thrilled to present the next one.
Yes, thank you, Susan. Our third solution today is called Women Techsters, and Deborah Oladepo from Nigeria is the leader of Women Techsters. She is bringing training to underserved communities. She's had amazing success in Nigeria. She's ready to scale this program across Africa to help bring digital and technical skills to women across Africa. This is a much needed set of skills to help enhance careers and livelihoods, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah, and I work with Tech for Dev. So I'd like to tell you a story about a young lady called Fatima Ahmed. Fatima is one of the beneficiaries of the Women Techsters program, and she's come from an underserved community in Ilorin in Nigeria. Fatima looks for a job for a really long time and stumbled on the Women Techsters program through a friend of ours. She went through our 2-week training program, and at the end of the training, she was able to get an internship placement as a front-end developer with a top software company in Lagos. 3 weeks into the internship, Fatima did get selected into the Microsoft Leap Engineering program, which is Microsoft's commitment towards building women software engineers in Nigeria and in Africa. There are a lot of women out there who want to be just like Fatima, but do not have access to the requisite skills to do so. And this is because there's a huge gender gap between men and women in the technology ecosystem in Nigeria and across Africa. As you can see behind me, for every 10 people in technology in Nigeria and Africa, 9 are men and 1 is a woman. So the Women Techsters program was actually born out of the need to bridge the digital divide between men and women in the technology ecosystem. Our mission is further strengthened by an African proverb that says, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Yeah, thank you. So women play a very vital role in economic development, and we think it's very important to provide them access to such opportunities. So talking a bit about the Women Techsters program is, the Women Techsters is an experiential learning program for women within the ages of 16 to 40, teaching them digital and deep tech skills across 5 tracks: web and mobile development, games development, Internet of Things, data science, and artificial intelligence. And we did this with 3 objectives in mind. We wanted the women to get access to jobs. We wanted them to study STEM at a more advanced level, and we wanted them to actually go start up their own technology businesses. So we did a pilot called the Nigerian Women Techsters, which was done in Nigeria, and we had tremendous results. We've trained over 2,475 women across 12 communities in 12 states in Nigeria, and 25% of them are currently are in a STEM-related course right now in universities and advanced level. 70% of them have started careers in STEM, and 5% of them are starting their own businesses at sort of like an MVP level. Here are some of the partners that made this possible for us: Microsoft, GIZ, and some of the state governments in Nigeria. And so I know a big question in people's minds are, how many more Fatimas can we train? Are there job opportunities for them out there? I would say a big yes. According to the IFC, by 2030, 230 million jobs in sub-Saharan Africa will require digital skills. And hence the reason why we have this ambitious goal where we're going to train 5 million women by 2030 across Africa. So what do we need to get to where we're going? Partners, partners, partners. We need financial partners who could support our learning delivery. We need technology and infrastructure partners such as partners with connectivity that could provide us innovation hubs, corporate partners, and among others. And we also need learning delivery partners that could help us strengthen our curriculum and provide some sort of mentorship for our women. You could follow us, our progress and our work at our website and our social media handles, and we do hope that you help us to be able to get women a place in the future of work. Thank you.
Okay, if our acceleration partners could please join us on stage. Thank you, Dewara. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Ashit Patel, and I work with Salesforce, where we believe that the business of business is to improve the state of the world. What you're doing is amazing because, as we all know, that a key driver of GDP is a very vibrant, strong, skilled women in workforce. And that's what you enable at scale and with very low cost. You've proven that in Nigeria, and as you guys reach out across the African continent and beyond, I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys develop the tech partnership as well as corporate partnerships to make that happen, and would like to hear more thoughts from you on that.
Okay, so thank you. We're looking to the kind of a bit of partnerships that we're working on in terms of technical partnerships. We're looking for learning delivery, like I said earlier, learning delivery partners. We're looking to strengthen our curriculum. So we're looking for some sort of organizations that have content. So we're looking towards building a larger platform where we can aggregate content for the women to actually go on in their learning phase, to actually go learn more on the platform. So it's one thing to come to the program for 2 weeks. It's another thing because this is a lifelong journey, and it's important that there are access to resources for them to be able to go ahead and do this. So that's very important to us. Then the mentorship as well for the women, it's very, very important to us. We're looking for organizations who are passionate about women and their development and can serve as some sort of role models to these women. Because one of the surveys that we did personally, one of the major reasons why the women said they were not interested in technology was because most of the role models, right, are male. So we're looking at a situation where we could have more women who could come into the program and show them the girl power and say, you can do this, right? You can become who you want to become, and these opportunities out there exist for you. Thank you.
I'm Radhika Shah, representing the SDG Philanthropy Platform, which is a global platform launched in 8 countries, bringing government, UN, and philanthropy together. I want to applaud the work of women Techsters in Nigeria, making technology education an equalizer so that we can achieve SDG 5, especially at this moment when we have transformational leaders like the Deputy Secretary General, also from Nigeria, Amina Mohammed, transforming the world. It's exciting to see how you're creating so many others like her. My question is, how can we, the SDG Philanthropy Platform, help with partnerships with UN, government, philanthropy? How could we add value?
So we're basically looking for, like I said, like partners. So we're looking more at, for example, within the UN, for example, would be like the UN women. We're also looking at the UNDP. We're also looking at the ITU. They will be like very important partners for us to onboard, for us to be able to sort of scale our work. We're also looking for like our government partnerships because we understand the critical role of advocacy and the critical role of having government support behind you. You're able to go further in terms of implementing the program that way. So those kind of partnerships will be very critical to us and will be helpful.
Dura, what you're doing is amazing. And you know, empowering women drive the economy of the African continent, and that's the reality that we need to face. And I really want to know how can I, from Startup Bootcamp, sorry everyone, my name is Matabani from Startup Bootcamp. I really want to know how we can partner together with you to take women, put them in jobs, and accelerate the technology landscape and innovation landscape across the continent.
Okay, so in terms of the jobs bit, for us it's quite important that the women are able to, you know, get into some level of like, how do I put it? So get them into the kind of jobs that are quite important for them in terms of the learning tracks that we had mentioned. So in terms of the entrepreneurship bit, we're looking more for our, like your organization, like innovation hubs that can assist us with mentorship and funding for the women who want to go into the entrepreneurial track, very important for them, such that they can continue with what it is that they've started out. Quite a number of them, like I said, are already at some level of MVP. They're now currently looking for some level of funding to advance the work that they do. So it's very important to us if we can get like access to sort of like innovation hubs that can help us achieve those goals.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to welcome Heather Johnson to the stage. Heather is the Vice President for Corporate Responsibility and Sustainability. I think I got that right at Ericsson. She and I have known each other for years, going back to when we had the Millennium Development Goals. And I want to continue a bit the theme of the discussion we just heard. Heather, you're at the forefront of discussions about the future of work and the kind of workforce we need to be able to respond to the future of work. And we know that this is a critical aspect of driving progress on the SDGs. So talk about the implication of what Women Techsters is doing in Africa, you know, the impact, potential impact on Africa's workforce, and why it's so important we help her scale her work.
Thanks so much, Susan, and really it's a pleasure to be here. To say Ericsson, as a technology company, we have a stated company purpose of empowering an intelligent, sustainable, and connected world. And I feel there are so many parallels with the Women Techsters initiative and the work that's being done there. I was just struck by, of course, how fundamental it is to really include and really have specific interventions around STEM education to really include the women into a future workforce. I think it's quite exciting to see, and I think very, very important to add that component of the internships, because I think it is that job. I think that's really the frontier where, you know, we can see that digital skills is a start, but really to gain that experience will be essential to really grow a workforce. And I also found it quite exciting to see that this is actually also catalyzing a number of women entrepreneurs in this space. Because, of course, as a technology company, we will also need this future workforce.
Great, thank you. One of the things that's happening later here at the UN later today is that we are launching a decade of action on the SDGs. We've been really positive here at the Solutions Summit, but we need to understand that not nearly enough is happening on the SDGs, and we're not on track to achieve them by 2030. But Heather, you at Ericsson are part of the telecommunications industry. I do think that this is an industry that had some early mobilization around the SDGs. So talk a bit about what's happening and some of the potential you see for being part of this decade of action.
Yeah, that's right. And I do. I mean, certainly from where we stand, we see innovation, industry, and infrastructure, SDG 9, as a real core contribution to the SDGs. But I would say it's essential that that's twinned with Goal 17 and partnership. And, really bringing together both public, private, but, I think quite importantly, really bringing in the innovators and entrepreneurs to help to really create solutions. And I think especially like this and many others that we hear today, on the ground, interventions that are really making a change locally and then can scale.
Great. Well, thank you. And I agree, partnership needs to be at the center of everything. Thank you again for being a partner across the board for the Solutions Summit. Your support has been invaluable, and we look forward to growing more with you in the future.
Thanks so much.
Okay, everyone. Now we have the leader of one of the largest STEM initiatives in Latin America, America Latina. Please welcome Brian Avendano, Science Clubs Colombia.
If you ask people to describe scientists, maybe you will get this. This is a cultural misunderstanding, what scientists do and what scientists looks like. That's why children do not seem represented in this. Even me, when I grew up in a poor neighborhood in the south of Bogota, I never seen a role model different than criminals or drug dealers. That's why I decided to become a scientist and change the mindset of people. This fits the STEM paradox, where according to all of these organizations, the workforce for the future requires STEM knowledge and soft skills. But in Colombia, less than 2% of students choose STEM careers. And 1 out of 3 scientists who study abroad return to Colombia. And 0.5% of the GDP is investment in science. This is a huge problem. Our mission is to inspire and creating a very big scientific education for children and young people, and inspiring them and mentoring them to create the next generation of scientists in Colombia and Latin America. Our work starts with bringing international scientists and connect them with local scientists. Them together with government grants, we put with the children and we made some STEAM projects. This is how it looks like. International scientists sharing their time and their role model with them. Children are seen represented. They are doing STEM, one week of STEM course, doing science, technology, engineering, math, and biotechnology, chemistry in 1 week, and they feel what a scientist looks like, and also they are doing science for 1 week. So they are solving some local projects from them, and finally they get inspired, and we mentoring them to become science in the future. We basically, in 5 years, have grown from 300 clubs, and we have been doing in 20 places in Colombia with more than 500 volunteers, scientists, And we have impacted more than 6,000 children around Colombia. We are not doing this alone. We are in 6 countries thanks to Clubes de Ciencia Latin America. And this model has been proved, scalable, and impactful. I'm here for ask you 2 simple things. I want you to ask for money for permanent staff, because I can imagine what can we do in the next level. And also, I need you as a scientist. I need you as a UN leader. I need you as a sponsor. Because one day, this child can be the person who are going to talk to you here with the new innovation. Thank you.
I just want to call out that everyone has been right on time. It is so hard to talk about such amazing work in 4 minutes, and so everyone today has done great.
I have really excited for the future of Latin America with you being there. Thank you. So we can call up our acceleration partners now and get some more support for you.
Hi, my name is Jodone Alo. I am the CEO of a non-profit organization in South Africa called Global Leading Light Initiatives. Brian, thank you so much for your presentation. I have spoken to you quite a bit, and what really strikes me as the power of your work is the ability to bring in the diaspora. You are able to bring in the Colombian diaspora with all the skills, the talents, and to bring this back to your country. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Yes, that's interesting because that's the breakthrough between any science club and our science club. We believe that if you bring the diaspora people who are studying their PhD or master's degree abroad, they come back to the country and they share what they are doing, how they started to doing that, and they are real, the human real people who are in the country and now are brighting abroad. So this creates an ecosystem by themselves. If you connect the local scientists and the international one, so you create more projects in solving local issues. And one more thing, you as a scientist who are coming to a rural and poor community in Colombia, you will realize what is your science for. So that's powerful because our volunteers then believe in our project and join them. So that's the ecosystem that we are creating in Colombia and Latin America.
Brian, I love it. My name's Chandler from Elemental Accelerator. I think one of the coolest parts about what you're doing is that you are fully run and fully staffed by an entire community of volunteers. I think you said 1,700 based in Latin America. I'm curious, with more funding and partners, how would you envision making this more scalable and sustainable?
Well, I wish to be a volunteer all my life, but you know, I'm a PhD student, I'm busy, and I would like to have a staff, like full-time staff, to measure everything, to organize data, to everything that we need in front of a desk and focus just every single day in Science Club. So I wish one volunteer or 5 or 10 or 11 can come here to a desk and help us and believe us. And that's why I would like to create like a top volunteer program with us.
Fabulous.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hend from Humanitarian Tracker. Brian, I love, love, love your project. It provides impact, it's opportunity. It puts STEM in the hands of the future, which is so important. My question to you is, what are the challenges that you face scaling into different countries, and how could we help you strategically?
Well, I didn't start this. This started also in Mexico, and we scaled this each country by each country. So what we started in Colombia, we just go back to Colombia from our countries where we are doing our PhDs, and we just call the Ministry of Education and say, hey, this is a huge program for you and for youth. So what we are willing is to go to Central America and the other countries that are missing in our program and talk with the educational ecosystem of that country and try to recruit some scientists who are volunteer for the first step of the program, and then they just have the program for themselves and start it by themselves. We are like as ambassadors of the idea, so this idea can be not just for Latin America.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica from the International Development Innovation Network, founded by a consortium of partners around the world, led by D-Lab at MIT. So first of all, I'd really like to offer you introductions to our network members in Colombia, which includes scientists and engineers in Bogota, as well as other parts of the country. And second, I just wanted to say what a pleasure it's been to see how much your work has grown. I remember seeing in the earlier days when your team won the 2015 MIT Global Challenge Award, but you know, many teams win competitions, and I think what's really special about your work is this commitment to really implement at scale. You know, as Megan Smith said during the acceleration sessions at the UN Foundation, lots of people are doing science clubs. Not everyone scales them. And as you said in our meetings, I think it's really this unique educational model and volunteer network that you're building that allows you to scale. So I really hope the resources and audience members who are going to engage with you can help you do this.
Thank you. When you know the program, it was 2015, and we just made 15 clubs. Next year, we're going to do, hopefully, 150.
So everyone out there, especially at the UN, Brian shared with me that he wants to talk to every UN leader. And what I can say just in closing is that a really good colleague of ours, when I used to work at the UN, is now in Latin America, in Santiago, at the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, and she leads the volunteers program for the SDGs. Hi, Marika Aberts. I'm going to introduce you to her as a beginning, but everyone please contact Carlos and help out this extraordinary initiative. Thank you.
Yes, I will appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap up now.
Yeah, let's talk en español afuera.
Okay, there you go.
Well, that is a wrap, though not really, because we have one more day of the Solution Summit tomorrow. We're going to be focused on health and well-being. So those of you who are here in person, come back. Those of you who've tuned in online, come back. We have 3 more amazing solution makers to hear from. But, I mean, the whole idea behind the Solution Summit was pretty basic. We knew the SDGs represent a very ambitious plan for people and planet. But we already knew at the time that they were adopted that there was a lot of incredible work already happening on the SDGs around the world. So if we can stitch together this community of solution makers and put more fuel and support behind the ones whose work is achieving results, we really can achieve the SDGs. But as you just heard me say, we need much more of this in order to get back on track for 2030. So thank you all for being here. And Susan, I'll give you the final word.
Just everyone, there's solution makers, innovators, extraordinary creators all around us all the time. Whenever you're thinking of solving a problem, look around and ask who's already doing this and team up with them. Extraordinary talent worldwide. Open up to it and let's do this together. Thank you very much.